All right, Ezra 3, let's call this one Structure and subtitle it Built, because in this chapter we'll see the way in which those returning from exile are going to rebuild the bronze altar and then eventually lay the foundation for the temple. A time of really great celebration, which is how the chapter is going to end. But before that, it's going to seem that they take roughly 7 months to get settled, because in the 7th month, they're going to rebuild the bronze altar, after which they're going to take an additional collection, as we said, in the style of Cyrus and the great kings of Israel and Judah, making sure they have enough provision for building the temple. They are once again going to contract with those of Tyre and this time of Sidon as well, to make sure they have some of that great cedar that was used in the original construction of the temple. And beyond that, they're going to get the foundation laid, beginning in around the first part of the 2nd year that they return from exile, and then they're going to have the celebration. But one of the things that stood out to me most was the reason why they started with the bronze altar, and it was because of what we mentioned in the last chapter, and that was they didn't feel completely secure coming back to the land after 70 years of the people of the land getting used to living without them being there. And so even though the Levites consistently had a role for providing security, this is a nation or a group of people who were used to defending themselves with an army, and for good reason. But they don't have an army now, and it's driving them to the realization that, wait a minute, we got to have security from somewhere. And so much like the second wave of those returning from exile are going to realize, wait a minute, we need security, but their leaders are going to be too scared to ask for a detail of soldiers, because they have talked about how they trust in their God. Now, this group of returning exiles is going to have to focus on God as the source of their security. Thus, they're building the altar. And in our lives, it reminded me of times when, insofar as I feel secure on my own, I am more likely to stray. As a matter of fact, David in Psalm 119, or whoever the author of Psalm 119 is, I believe it's David, he says, before I was afflicted, I went astray. And that's a man after God's own heart, as we sometimes say around here. So if David could stray once the pressure's off, so can we all. And so as God is helping them establish the physical foundation of the structure, it seems that he is simultaneously helping them rely on the foundation that is going to help them rebuild the character of the nation effectively. And it reminded me of something that David said in Psalm 44, which I'm going to read at length because I think it gives us great perspective on how they are going to effectively rebuild, as David tells a story about the days in which they originally established the nation. In verse 1 of Psalm 44, it reads, "O God, we have heard with our ears, our fathers have told us what deeds you performed in their days. In the days of old, you with your own hand drove out the nations, but them you planted. You afflicted the peoples, but them you set free. For not by their sword did they win the land, nor did their own arm save them, but your right hand and your arm in the light of your face, for you delighted in them. You are my king, O God, ordained salvation for Jacob. Through you we push down our foes. Through your name we tread down those who rise against us. For not in my bow do I trust, nor can my sword save me." That's one of Israel's great generals, understanding that he comes from a people who in the days of the judges were victorious with only 300 in battle under Gideon. And after David was gone and Jehoshaphat built their army up to just under 1.5 million men, it did not matter, because once Jehoshaphat, that righteous king, passed, that 1.5 million men could not save them, because God had always called them to be a people who were founded in righteousness. And so it seems that David caught on to something that God is trying to impress upon them in Ezra chapter 3. As you are laying the foundation of the physical structure of the temple, the foundation of your character as God's people has a lot more to do with your security than the size of your army.